Hello and a very warm welcome to all our viewers. We're here at Bite Me Burger in DIFC, and joining me this morning is the lady behind the power of confidence. And of course, we're talking about none other than Nancy Haines. Hello and a very warm welcome. How are you doing, Nancy?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you with us today on the show. Now, Nancy, we're going to start off by asking you to tell us a little bit more about the concept behind creating
the Center of Confidence. Yes. So I'm so excited. So it was kind of birthed by accident, to be honest with you. I was in charge of a nonprofit online for women, and it was called Sisterhood Connections. And so it kind of just started as a passion project, just for fun. And it was like, all right, well, let's just do this. But then from that, it started growing. And then I got put as the director of empowerment. And then from there, it became, what are you really good at? And I said, I really want women to understand that confidence is so key in anything that you do, relationship, business, just for yourself. And so I thought, okay, what can I do? And so I started just doing that for fun, because my background is actually in human resources. So I had 15 years of experience in human resources. And then I started kind of incorporating that into like just my training and things like that into the HR world. But it kind of came together because bringing the confidence piece into anything that I did, you could see the transformation in people. There was something different, the uniqueness, the authenticity. So you don't have to play a role necessarily, you're playing your specific role in whatever it is that you're doing in your team and in life. So that's kind of how it was birthed.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. Now, you said you were also involved in corporate development. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So one of the reasons why I got into like human resources, and the reason why I wanted to get into training, is service. That was one thing that I was like, I want to help people. And that's literally how it started, by me helping people fill out applications. Like I was like, oh my God, I love helping. So that's kind of how it was started. And then I realized during my own experiences at work, like HR needs to be more involved. And I was like, how can we do this? And also setting people up to succeed. And that wasn't really happening. And so I started kind of like, okay, let's bring in one manager at a time now, because I was so new into it. I just had that gut feel, but I didn't have like the background yet. So I kind of was testing out a few people, a few groups here and there, and just sprinkling it all around. And then all of a sudden noticing the changes and getting some testimonies from that. And then is when I felt confident enough to then now present it and say, okay, now I can do this.
Amazing. Now, how long have you been in this beautiful city that we're in today?
I've been here for a little bit over 3 years. So I was in Los Angeles, California before, and then I came here about 3 years ago.
And what do you think of this gorgeous place that we're in today?
Let me just tell you, it's been a transition. I think I moved to different states. So I started in like a small little country village, and then I went to the big city, right? So that was a transition. So I thought, if I could do that, I could do anything. But lo and behold, when you have every challenge coming at you, the move, a new relationship status, a new environment, and then you're completely cut out from your comfort of friendships and just the familiarity of life. That was a huge, huge impact for me, because then I had to dig deeper to find who I really was away from everything else. So that actually helped me, because now I can understand women that are going through that in the coaching.
Now, being a successful female entrepreneur here in the Middle East.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that. Tell us about your journey, if you had any obstacles or any challenges along the way.
Do we have time?
I think we do. We'll make time.
Do you know what I think the biggest one is? What you attach yourself to. So like in LA, I had my network. I knew who I could reach out to for anything. Business was booming. I had my own HR career for about 8 years on my own. But I wasn't always in just the entrepreneurship. It was corporate. So I was always thrown into like the most difficult situations. Like, hey, you need to do the luxury industry. You need to open these stores. You need to do this. And it was just like, oh my gosh, I've never done that before. But I had to like kind of just own it and pretend like, oh yeah, definitely I can do it. And then it was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But behind the scenes, it was doing the research and doing the work.
Of course.
So I was like, okay, so if it's meant for me, I'm going to do this. Now from corporate though, I was approached by a gentleman who I actually went to go see. He was a motivational speaker at an event, and I just found it so profound that he had so many different businesses, and I'm like, this guy's not good at that and that and that and that. Like, how can he have all these successful businesses? And in meeting with him, and randomly he offered me a partnership. He said, you need to be doing this on your own. And you know, when you're just like, what is he seeing in me? Because I don't see that. Like, I don't understand why he's even talking to me about this. So he was the one that pulled me away from the corporate environment and said, you have something. You don't even see it for yourself, but you need to do this. And it was scary. And it was the most horrible thing that I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna have anybody coming in. Like, what is this? And in LA, it's expensive.
Oh yeah.
Just like here.
Yes, exactly.
So it was a little nutty, but in that sense, he was the one who kind of introduced me into, you have to step out of your comfort zone. And that was really powerful. Unfortunately, a year later, he passed away from cancer.
Oh no.
So I was working in his final months from the hospital, like with my computer, and he was in the bed, and it was just, but that fire in him to just want to continue succeeding, like I was like, how does he do, like I would be torn. Like I have cancer, I'm in this bed, but the light that he had inside of him, I was like, how do you do that?
That's amazing. I think that's what they call passion.
Oh,
or beyond passion.
Oh my gosh, way more. And I think his final words to me, and I think that was like what really kept me going, because I was like, okay, as soon as he's gone, I have nobody, so I'm gonna have to go back into the corporate world. And on his like final moments, he was like, you have a light so bright inside of you. You cannot let anybody dim that light. And he's like, promise me that you will do whatever it takes. And I think it was too much for me, because I didn't even want to like promise that. I was like, can I do that? Like, I don't know if I can do that. But I said yes, and it just came out, and I was like, yes. You know what? And I was like, yes. And I think from there, I took the business, and it grew amazing. And then I had to obviously stop everything, because then I had to move here. But that was like a big one. So you're coming from somewhere where you're already established.
Of course.
You've already been there, done that. And then all of a sudden you're starting over.
From scratch.
From scratch. No network. You have no idea how people do business here. Like nothing. So it was like, it kicked my confidence in the butt.
Oh no.
It was like, are you sure this is what you can do? So I kind of had to dig deeper. Mm-hmm. I did spend a few months almost like on self-care for me, like really understanding where the emotions were coming from, and like really digging in there and saying, okay, so what can I offer, and who am I really? So that's what I did in those 3 months. And then, so the challenges, a lot of it was the network. I don't know anybody here. So it was like, okay, I have to get out and know people. Where are people meeting? And then it was searching and like, oh, people meet here, people meet there. So that's kind of how it was like started. And so having to feel like you're starting from scratch, it's like a knock to your ego.
It must have been hard, I'm sure, but look where you are today.
Where I am.
That's what matters.
Persistence.
Exactly, and confidence.
Yes.
Confidence on top of everything.
Yes, 100%. That was something that I think I am so grateful. And for anybody who's going through challenges, the challenges build you.
Absolutely.
Because even though you fall and like you feel that, almost like that sense of defeat.
Yeah.
You know how to get up, and so you grab a strength from somewhere inside that kind of gets you to that next level, and then you kind of just keep going. So any situation that has happened, even though it's been struggle or challenges or whatever it is, but it has made me stronger.
I'm so happy to hear you say that. Now, getting back to a topic that we all love, women empowerment.
Yes,
of course, the amazing platform of iWest.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about your involvement with iWest as a platform for successful female entrepreneurs here in the region, and what your views are on that.
Let me tell you a little bit about this. I find it so inspiring, and I really do, for somebody to take, you know, as women, it can be a little much. But for somebody to be able to take a platform and bring all of us together, like good, genuine women that can share their stories, be vulnerable, because it's not always amazing and glamorous. It isn't. It isn't. There are days where that is not the case. But to be able to bring women that can come together and not be afraid to share their stories and not be afraid to be vulnerable, with the public, but actually use that as that might help somebody else grow, or that might make that person take that next step, where it's not even about you anymore. It's about everybody else who you can impact.
Sure.
So I think this platform does that. And so bringing all of us together to collaborate, to share the stories, to share the compassion with each other, to say, my gosh, I was there too. I totally understand where she's at. It almost helps you to kind of release the judgment of us women that sometimes we have for each other, but in the sense of using it to propel us forward.
Absolutely. Last but not least, Nancy, what message do we have for the viewers that are watching us right now? What would you say to them?
Besides, I'm sure a lot of people are going to say, obviously, your uniqueness, that is your superpower. Nobody is you. But I feel that sense of grit and commitment, but most importantly, curiosity. Always be curious for life, curious about what is next, what is coming. Don't get stuck in where you're at, but continue to see the momentum forward, but from a good place, and that's the curiosity, because whatever happens, you're gonna learn something for yourself that's gonna make you stronger, and that's gonna be the key for you to maintain committed and also to gain even more confidence in whatever you decide to do in life.
So Nancy, tell us a little bit more about the confidence factor. How important is that, and what kind of a major role does it play in people's lives?
Do you know, for me, it has played every role in everything that I've done, whether it was my relationship, successful and unsuccessful relationships. What was that factor? And it was the lack of confidence on the ones that failed. Because at the end of the day, when you have confidence in yourself, that drives you into connecting with your own values. And so what people don't realize is that we all have confidence. It's just that we have different levels of our lives that is a different requirement. So, I can sit here and talk to you, and this required a certain level of confidence. But now let's take it up a notch, and let's say there was a live audience of 3,000 people. That requires a different level of confidence.
Absolutely.
So with that, it's not that you don't have it, it's just that you have to transform into a higher version of yourself. And so that's something that I am super, super passionate about, because I've seen the impact that it had for me. If I didn't have enough confidence in myself to go to my business partner and say, hey, I want to ask you questions, I want to learn from you, he would have never, ever seen me. So then to be able to be a risk taker, you have to have confidence in yourself. To be able to step into that next thing that maybe you don't feel 100% ready for, but you know that that's something that you want to try, that confidence will lead you in that direction. And so something, for example, that's how I started my podcast, The Art of Being You.
I love that title. So beautiful.
Because it is an art. You have a completely different journey than I do. So your steps to success are very different than they are for me, because of the experiences that we've gone through in life. And so each of us have that art piece. It's a blank canvas, and we paint whatever is on that. And that's a part of, I find it that it's an art to be me, because I'm consistently evolving. So I can choose what colors that I want to put. I can choose what experiences I want to have and move in that direction. And that's what the podcast does. I share a lot of tips on there, but soon, which I'll be inviting you as a guest, to share some stories to help women to really see that we all have different journeys, and the comparison that we have with each other, it's not about comparing, it's using those tools as something that'll help you move forward that I might not know about you or the rest of the audience. And that way they can use those tools from your experience, from how you've been able to create your life, and then they can take that and use it however they would like.
Sounds amazing. I cannot wait to be your guest on the podcast. And I love the name, The Art of Being You. Absolutely beautiful.
Yes, thank you.
Nancy Haines, we'd like to thank you for spending some time with us on today's show. It's been a true pleasure talking to you.
Very much.
And wishing you continued growth and success in all your future ventures.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for from Nancy Haines. It's been very interesting finding out more about The Art of Being You, her new podcast, as well as her background, and of course the importance of confidence in our everyday today life. My name is Lara, signing off. Until next time.